I'm Celestia Hathhorn. I was the 2019 Community Challenge Coordinator, but primarily my role was to be a facilitator as far as meeting with teams and kind of walking them through the 2018-2019 Community Challenge. Every community that I work with is really different, so each approach has to be different, so you kind of have to just go to their first meeting, have each of the teams kind of draw on their assets and explain what they like about their community, what needs some improvement, what they feel like the biggest hurdles in their community are, and then based on that, you can kind of guide them in the right direction as far as resources that are available through the county, through the health department, and then go beyond that into kind of where their team can go as far as project planning. When building a dream team, I think that the person building the team really needs to set some personal and even team-wide goals and objectives. So what are they looking to accomplish overall? That needs to be the first step. The second step is kind of thinking about the assets that each team member kind of needs to bring to the table. For example, in a lot of our communities, we have an angry neighbor, so to speak. So someone that has been wronged before or doesn't see the purpose of meeting as a team. The team leader can then use that person as an asset and kind of guide them along to a successful, project implementation plan. When you're building a dream team, it's really important to have people that have different perspectives and backgrounds. For example, say a team has a youth and a retired individual. These people obviously have different perspectives, different parts of their life. So we want to make sure that everyone in the community is being represented, whether that be race, whether that be age, whether that be vocation, so what they do. And once you have that melting pot of a dream team, you can really build projects based on everyone's background and really pull from different strengths and different wants that they want to see their, community or successful project be. When you're looking for team members, it's really important that you look in organizations and groups that already exist. Chances are there are multiple individuals that already have the same idea in their head as what they want their community or next project to be. Another example of things that you can do to find team members is just getting out and talking to your neighbor. We found in the 2019 Community Challenge year that a lot of people were scared of their neighbor and didn't want to, get out and just talk to people. This is really should be the foundation of how to find people, is just getting out there, meeting acquaintances, and bringing folks together to make a difference in their community. Different roles, I guess, kind of depend on the team, so drawing on people's assets is super important, but there are a few positions that every team should have. For example, every team should have a team leader, someone that's really going to guide folks towards the right direction, keep everyone on the ball, delegate tasks. There also needs to be someone like a communications person that wants to take notes, keep records, be the main point of contact between the team and their assets and other resources that they're kind of utilizing. Plains team that they were involved in the 2019 challenge. So the team leader, Clyde, for example, if someone has an idea that they want the Community Challenge team to execute, he puts that person in charge of their idea. They are meant to then go out, recruit troops, so to speak, and kind of implement their idea and project. The next meeting, they'll come back. They'll kind of report to the rest of the team what they've accomplished and what they need from the rest of the team members. And that's really successful because he's not just the team leader. There's then sub-leaders that kind of have their own projects going on and boost the team up from the inside. Giving the team autonomy itself is really important. So making sure that team members don't just see themselves as part of this giant machine, but as an individual. Everyone has their own values and their own objectives and their own reasons for joining a community team. So making sure that tasks are delegated in a way where the person feels that they have a purpose is motivation in itself. So I think that there are different aspects that make up a good leader. It really depends on leadership style. I think everyone's a little bit different. But in the most successful approaches, I think that it's really important to accept mistakes and really be open to team members failing. Not everyone's perfect. Really being open to the idea that there's room for growth as a team. You're going to constantly be learning as a leader. Different people, as new people come in, you're going to have to relearn steps. But really like utilizing your team's strengths and being aware of everyone's ideas, their wants, their needs, and being able to communicate that to the rest of the team is really important. I think that every small step could be considered a milestone, and it's really important to celebrate those small steps. We have some communities that haven't exactly gotten what they wanted in the beginning, but they've still accomplished, a small step of community development. Just being together in a room talking about your community is the perfect first step to celebrate. When you're working with other teams, it's really important to not only see them as a what to do and what not to do guide, but also using them as a resource as far as looking at what resources lie within their communities, talking to their team leaders and team members, and kind of just building upon what you already have as a team. That collaborative learning piece is really important as far as the community challenge goes, because other teams might not be aware of what you have, and you might not be aware of what they have. Our Gloucester team could really use the example of the Amesville team as kind of a what to do when creating an open air event space. So Gary Gooseman, who's the team leader in Amesville, he decided to do a project where he built a stage and event space for their Coonskin Saturdays events. That's every third Saturday of the summer months. And Gloucester has First Fridays, which is the first Friday of summer months. And so the Gloucester team wants to develop a downtown park and work on revitalization of their downtown area. If they could meet with Gary, learn some grant writing skills, learn how to communicate with the community itself, I think that they could really, use some of the resources that Gary was able to utilize in his project. So before you kind of go out and search for an expert yourself, it's important that you ask team members if they have any specialists or experts in their back pocket that maybe you don't know about. If this isn't the case and no one in your team does have an expert for a project, say you're painting a mural and need an artist, chances are that someone in your community is an artist and you can utilize their services for free. I think that the message of community improvement or being happier in your community is something that everyone can get behind. So I don't think that you'll have to spend $1 million on a community mural. Teamwork is very hard. I think that everyone kind of feels that even through like middle school and high school. No one really wants to do teamwork unless you're doing it with your friends. But the work's important. Otherwise, community teams wouldn't exist trying to make changes in their community. A lot of teams see conflict as a hurdle. So it's either my way or the highway kind of line of thinking. When it comes to resolving conflict, it falls a lot of times on the team leader, and I don't think that that's really necessary for it to fall on the team leader. I think that when you're going into a group, it's important to recognize that it is a diverse group and everyone is going to have different opinions and backgrounds, and that needs to be celebrated more than, made into a conflict. Just going in with the mentality of we're all here, we're all trying to make our community a better place, that in itself can kind of act as fuel to avoid conflict. And I don't necessarily think that there has to be conflict at all, as long as you're keeping an open mind and making sure that your tasks are done correctly. Any small step can be celebrated again. I think that the reality of it is that there are going to be hurdles that teams face. Not everything is going to be perfect. And I don't think that it's important to kind of freak out in those moments, because there are resources that teams can utilize at the higher up levels. For example, the last 3 years of the Community Challenge, the County Planner's Office has been the main point of contact for teams, and communicated directly different resources and different ways they can have this conflict resolution. There are many resources that team members can contact if they're not feeling satisfied, if the team as a whole comes to the conclusion that they need a little bit more help. For the last 3 years, the planning office has really been a direct support system kind of for each individual teams, and we've taught them to do asset mapping and building upon their assets. But in the upcoming years, that's going to happen less and less. But it is important for teams to realize that this doesn't mean that the planner's office is gone completely. It just means that it's their chance to be a little more independent. But that resource is still there for teams to utilize if needed. And if there needs to be, a clean slate, we're more than willing to work with teams in order to help them do a different project or different implementation of a project that they have. One thing that I've been taught over the last year as the VISTA member, working directly with these teams, is that I have the confidence that these teams are able to build themselves from the ground up and really be independent in their project planning. And I'm so excited to see what they have planned for themselves.